Hello, and welcome to Mysteries of Science. My name's Dan, and I'm the editor of Science and Nature, the monthly magazine from the team behind The Week Junior.
And I'm Ciaran, the features editor. In each issue of Science and Nature, we explore the universe through in-depth features, news stories, awe-inspiring images, interviews with top experts, and much more.
As ever on the podcast, this week we're going to be tearing open one of our favourite mysteries of science. These are the strange phenomena and bizarre events that have left scientists scratching their heads, and despite all of their best attempts, they remain well and truly unsolved.
Today's mystery takes us to the world of healthcare and a marvellous and seemingly magic medicine that can quite literally make anyone feel better. What is this potent potion, you may ask?
Well, it's something called a placebo, a powerful pill containing, wait for it, zero medicine, and that nevertheless makes you feel better for no apparent reason. We'll also be investigating the evil cousin of the placebo, something called the nocebo, and these have completely the opposite effects.
No need to worry if you don't know your placebos from your paracetamols or your Calpol from your COVID vaccine. We've got some fantastic experts who will be holding our hands and guiding us today. We've got two of the leading researchers in the field of placebos and nocebos helping us, and we'll be hearing from them very shortly.
This is Mysteries of Science. It's the middle of the Second World War. This was a conflict between 1939 and 1945 that involved more than 30 countries. And medicines are running low. The US Army in southern Italy, a key battleground, is desperate to care for its wounded soldiers. Supplies of morphine, which acts as a strong painkiller, have almost been entirely used up. With more and more patients piling up, things aren't looking good. Henry Knowles Beecher, a US Army doctor, has run out of medicine and run out of ideas. He then sees what the nurses are up to. Instead of injecting the patients with morphine, they are injecting salt water. Salt water? This is crazy. Salt water doesn't act as a painkiller. Salt water doesn't do anything. Yet the patients don't know any better. They believe they've just been given a morphine injection. And guess what? The pain just melts away.
What Dan just described is an early example of a placebo. Here's how Suzanne Helfer, a professor of psychology at Adrian College in the US state of Michigan, describes placebos.
A placebo is a medication with no active ingredients. For example, a sugar pill. In some cases, you can give a patient a pill with no active ingredients and they will experience symptom relief.
Doesn't that sound like, well, just a little bit wrong? I mean, if you're supposed to treat somebody who isn't feeling well, then you should give them medicine that works. I mean, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really important point. And we're going to come back to that. So we'll come back to the morals of what the nurses were doing. And by that, we mean whether it's right to pretend to give someone medication when actually you're just giving them a fake treatment. But for now, let's focus on the placebos themselves. Dan, was World War II the first time that nurses and doctors had discovered the power of the placebo effect?
I've done a little bit of research into this, and no, actually. Although Henry Knowles Beecher, who I mentioned earlier, is one of the first doctors to fully research placebos and how they work, there are actually much earlier examples of placebos. At the time, they were greatly misunderstood, I would say, so perhaps let's go back to the 18th century and you're feeling pretty poorly and you might go out to the shop and get a strange concoction of herbs and plants specially mixed and crushed up for you to help cure the symptoms. And the man in the shop might say that this is going to work a treat, everyone else has used it, and anyone who's used it has recovered fully within a day. So you take this strange mixture and lo and behold, you wake up the next day feeling right as rain.
While you might think it was the concoction that helped you get back on your feet the next day, it was probably actually the placebo effect in action. Because you believed the mixture would cure you, it did. So why is your body fooling you?
There's two reasons why placebos work. One, because they tend to make us feel more relaxed and therefore our bodies are just better prepared to fight off infection. And the second reason is because our bodies get tricked into doing the things they do when a real treatment is taken?
One way is that it might relieve some of your anxiety. And so anxiety and stress hormones that are released when you're feeling worried might be reduced just because you've got a treatment. So you feel more relaxed, you feel like you're doing something about the pain or whatever the condition is. But another reason is classical conditioning. So your brain is used to responding a certain way to certain stimuli. And so you might get a conditioned response to the look of a medication or the taste of a medication. You know, if you taste a medication, then your brain is like, okay, pain relief's coming, and it will actually start to release neurotransmitters that reduce your pain before the drug takes effect.
Okay, I've got a really silly question.
All right, go for it.
So, if placebos are so good at what they do, if they make us feel better, then why bother with actual medicine? Surely the placebo effect alone is enough.
That is actually a brilliant question, Ciaran. I don't know. I think we need to speak to another expert guest.
I'm Kaya Peerdeman. I'm a researcher at Leiden University in the Netherlands, where I focus on placebo effects and basically the role of expectations in pain, itch, and all sorts of physical symptoms. No, it would be great to have this, right? Prescribe placebos for anything we deal with, anything we struggle with. But it would be a nice, cheap solution. But the point is that real treatments do really work better. Just because placebo effects are part of the active treatment, so they can boost the treatment. You have maybe a real paracetamol, aspirin, anything, and that in itself can really relieve your pain. Expecting that it will can boost its effectiveness. So should we just take the placebo, we only have that expectation part, which in some cases can be as effective as the actual treatment, but generally speaking, you would want the active treatment to really get that effect going.
I get it, and you also need to expect that it would work to actually get the full effect of the placebo, right?
Also, if you would just start prescribing placebos to everyone for every kind of situation, you miss a very important part, is that it works because we expect it to. Should we all know that we're just getting sugar pills, we will at some point start no longer expecting that it will work. We need those real active treatments.
Kaya's saying that placebos are the cherry on top of the medicine cake. They might help you feel better, but generally speaking, you need the active ingredient for your condition to improve as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, exactly. The cherry on top of the medicine cake. I like that. Here's how Suzanne described it.
If it causes you also to have less anxiety, it may cause your sprained ankle to heal faster, because maybe your behavior would change, or maybe you'd be less stressed out. And other things that respond real well to placebos are sleep difficulties, fatigue, and there are actually physical changes happening in the brain when you are expecting a real medication. But placebos don't really heal broken bones or cure cancer, but they can cause changes in the brain that result in faster healing.
So as far as I understand it, these placebos only work when your doctor lies to you. You know, the placebo works because you don't know that you're just getting a sugar pill or a saltwater injection. If you told the patient he was getting a placebo, it just wouldn't work, right? That'd be crazy.
There are situations where you can say that you can give a placebo and people know it is a placebo and can still be effective. That's been studied for the last, 10 years or so.
Wait. Did Kaya just say that placebos work even when you're told you're just getting a placebo?
Yeah.
She did, and she's right. Though the reasons why exactly are still a little unclear. So these are known as open label placebos, as in you, the patient, know they are fake pills, but they still work on conditions that patients observe for themselves. So say you've got a feeling of nausea, or you've got a sore knee, or you're feeling really tired. If your doctor says, here's a placebo, it will still, in most cases, work.
Wow. That is incredible.
They're absolutely fascinating, and they're great because they solve one of the biggest problems associated with placebos, and that is honesty. Henry Knowles Beecher, yes, him again, was one of the people who introduced new rules in the US, and those rules said that doctors had to behave in a responsible way. Basically, you can't give a patient a sugar pill and lie to them about what it is.
Yeah, totally. And like we sort of pointed out at the start, surely it's just not right to give people fake medicine or even just to lie about the likely effects of their treatment. I guess similar rules pretty much exist everywhere now. And doctors have to tell you the truth about what they're giving you.
Sounds pretty sensible to me.
Yes, pretty sensible. Yes, a good thing too. But remember when I mentioned nocebos at the start of the podcast? This is kind of like the opposite or evil twin of placebos. They work in the same way as a placebo, right? So imagine your doctor says, okay, this pill is going to make your sore ankle less sore. But just so you know, some people who end up taking this pill feel dizzy. The nocebo effect means that because you know the drug might make you feel dizzy, you're much more likely to feel dizzy than if the doctor hadn't told you about any of the side effects.
So that honesty of the doctor is possibly causing even more problems for the patient. And I think there's a recent example of this that a lot of us will be familiar with, and that is that many people have already got their COVID-19 vaccine, and a lot of them have experienced a negative side effect in the hours or days following that jab. So, when the rest of us go to get our jabs, we expect to feel those side effects too. The nocebo effect is tricking us into feeling sick or tired or whatever else people have told us that they've experienced, not because we've reacted badly to the vaccine, but because our brains are telling us that because everyone else has felt that way, we should too.
Yeah, I fully experienced that. I mean, I fully expected to be to feel terrible after my vaccine. So when I got back, I dosed up on paracetamol and Lemsip and everything. My partner was just laughing at me. She was like, "You don't know if it's going to make you feel bad. You just expect that you're going to feel bad about it."
Why? So that was the nocebo effect being used to try and change something as well.
I mean, like, basically, nocebos get a boost every time a doctor warns you of a possible side effect of a medication. Let's hear from Suzanne.
If your healthcare provider tells you about side effects, you are more likely to experience them. However, it's not ethical to hide information from patients, obviously. One of the lines of research we have going now is to investigate how exactly can a healthcare provider phrase these side effect warnings so that it minimizes the nocebo effect. So the patient still gets information, but the healthcare provider is providing the information in a way that will make it less likely that we've got any nocebo side effects.
If you're a doctor, you have to tell your patients that the medicine that they need might make them feel tired or dizzy or sick, but by doing so, you're increasing the risk of them experiencing those very things. What's the solution to that?
So I don't have the solution to that, unfortunately. I think one of them that you could consider is that not you yourself, but somebody else reads the medication leaflet. So that they can inform you of what is important to you. So not you, but your parents or your partner, brother, sister might read it. And they can inform you of what is important, or they can keep an eye out and protect you from that. If that's a solution, I'm not sure, but that's one direction we could think. And what is also very interesting is a study that has been conducted not too long ago, where they tried immunization therapy for peanut allergy. So people tried to help people get rid of their peanut allergy. And there they reframed side effects as being positive signs that the medication or the treatment really is working. And that really had a very positive effect. And it's just one study, so we can't make too big claims about this. But it seems that people were less anxious. They had more a feeling of, well, it's really working, so they needed less help from the doctors. And it was easier for them to continue with the treatment.
Right, I think we need a recap here. So stand by, quickfire placebo facts coming right up. 1. Placebos are treatments that should be ineffective, but actually have a positive impact on us. either because we think they are actually real pills or because they just calm us down.
2. The term placebo effect describes this magical ability, and its evil twin is the nocebo effect. Nocebos are the worst. Nobody likes them.
And finally, 3. Placebos and nocebos are tricky to use in real life because doctors have to tell you the positive and negative side effects of whatever they are prescribing for you.
I've got one more question about placebos that we've not quite answered yet, and that is whether they affect everyone equally or whether there are some people who are more likely to feel their influence.
It's a good question. Ciaran, you're on fire today. Luckily for you, Suzanne has just led a study on that precise topic.
If you're an optimistic person, that doesn't mean you're going to respond to a placebo that I give you today necessarily. You have a higher chance, but it doesn't always happen. But over the course of your life, an optimistic person would have more instances of responding to placebos.
Suzanne's research suggests the opposite is true for nocebos. If you're generally quite pessimistic, if you often feel like the worst is going to happen, then you're more likely to experience nocebos than other people are.
Interesting stuff. You know, it's nice to know that with this particular mystery of science, there are at least some answers waiting for us.
Yeah, it's definitely an area of science that researchers have been grappling with, and quite successfully, for a while now. So I pulled out our trusty Mysteries of Science and Mysteryometer. And this is when we ask scientists on a scale from 1 to 100 where they estimate we're at. So 1 would be not understanding placebos at all, and 100 would be a full understanding of how and why they work.
First number that comes to mind is 70. So 0 to 100, it would be 70. So I think we've understood quite a few things, and to the extent that we can make use of it in clinical practice, but actually if you want, you can really translate to many facets of our daily lives. But let's focus on clinical practice. That's what we mostly know. So I would go for that, but there's so much more to learn. So much more to really properly understand, to really make optimal use of it, including indeed maybe who's going to respond. Can we predict who in what situation is going to respond? That's one. And what's really going on in the body at a more detailed level. How can we use it to boost treatments optimally? And how can we prevent nocebo effects indeed?
So there we have it. A mystery that is at least mostly solved. Placebos are a crazy area of science, but we have an understanding of how they work and how to use them in order to best help people in need.
I think we need a sort of like cheer and a clap around there, don't we? Like a woo, bit of a party sound effect.
Dan, I think that's the first one we've actually solved.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. Episode 5, and we've solved a mystery. Woo!
Hooray!
Excellent. This is definitely a cause for celebration, and we want to hear from you and hear what you think. Do you think it should be okay for doctors to prescribe placebos without their patients knowing? Or do you think that's just completely not right? And what other magical mysteries of science do you want to hear about? We're collecting all of your contributions for an episode that will come at the end of the series, where we'll answer your questions, read out your comments, and listen to your brilliant feedback.
To get involved, just email hello@science-nature.co.uk to tell us what you think, either by writing in an email or, even better, recording your thoughts on a short video or audio clip and sending it in.
Remember to rate and review this podcast wherever you listen to it, and subscribe or follow so you never miss another episode. And tell your friends about the show so they can listen too. Mysteries are much more fun to investigate with friends.
Once you've done that, don't forget to pick up the latest copy of the Week Junior's Science and Nature magazine for even more mysteries of science.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another mystery. Shh, nice and quiet now. This is a brain-tingling phenomena called ASMR, where peaceful sounds can trigger a flurry of fuzziness for whoever's listening. Until then, stay curious.
If you want to get your hands on a copy of the Week Junior magazine, we're offering a 6-week free trial. To get yours, head over to dennismags.co.uk/theweekjunior and use the code podcast.